The James Show Podcast.
This is a theory that is being passed around by too many people. Here you go.
I'm wondering, do MAGA men think that because WIC and SNAP benefits are going away November 1st, that this is going to open up the pool of women that they can date? Because they're going to say, oh, single mom, she's already proven to be a breeder, and she's going to be broken, not able to feed her kids. What can I get away with? What can I do to her just so she can feed her kids? That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. They're going to be so disappointed. And because women have chosen the bear, and the next step in that is women choosing women, not in a gay way, but to live together and care for each other.
Yeah, and, maybe watch movies on the couch in your pajamas. As the movie wears on, you kind of cuddle a little bit, maybe smell her hair. Hang on a second. You got me distracted there. What was that again? If we miss some food stamps, women are going to turn to lesbianism. Single moms are going to turn... Did you even catch, the weird false premise she was building this goofy theory on? MAGA men, do you really think that without food stamps you're going to be able to get single women? No, that's not what anybody's thinking. No guy, I shouldn't say no. Few guys out there, especially MAGA guys out there, are like, boy, if I could only get some woman that's already tied down with some other man's kids, that's what I really... Is there some way I can finagle my way into this scenario? Can I please just get someone's leftovers and raise someone else's children at my own expense? Oh, my God, is there some way we can manipulate the government just like Hitler would do? What was that? What was even this weird fantasy that you have? We're over here celebrating, oh, what can I do to single moms? We're the bad guy in a 80s cartoon. Listen, it's just the beginning of the sound clip is hilarious.
I'm wondering, do MAGA men think that because WIC and SNAP benefits are going away November 1st, that this is going to open up the pool of women that they can date?
Listen to that. You have no idea what goes on in our heads, lady. You have no idea. Oh, my gosh. They're cutting off food stamp benefits. They must want to sleep with us really bad. What fantasy are you living in, lady? Single moms, you've got it hard out there. I understand. But you're not the ideal mate that most guys are looking for. Oh, is there just some way we can exploit single moms? What a terrible thing to think about, I don't know, half the country's men. You really think this will... Oh, how can we exploit single moms? That's how evil we are. So silly. And your response is you're going to go lesbian on them? Great. That makes a whole lot of sense, doesn't it? The other one is the food stamp crash out going to create a whole new class of prostitutes? Working women. Well, they have no other way to feed themselves. I guess they're going to have to sell their body for food. They could get a job. They could get a non-carnal related job. Is that the right word? That's probably not the right word. I don't want to use the right word.
All right, ladies. Now, food stamps getting ready to get cut off, and I hate to be the one to tell you this. I hate to be the burial of bad news, but I'm going to need y'all to get out here and start selling that cat again, okay? Because back in the day, our grandparents was not worried about how they was going to feed these kids because they wouldn't mind going out here and getting on these blocks. Hell, y'all going to have to go ahead and start selling some cat. Okay? I don't want to hear nobody online complaining about, food stamps. There's a bunch of dumbass out here in these streets running around ready to pay $20, $30 for a piece of because I'm ain't. Let's go ahead and use up these men that's already washed up. All right, do what you got to do. Just wear some protection. That's all I got to say. I'm just saying.
All right. Is that on the same planet as you? Yeah, I guess we're going to have to. And she was calling it cat. I don't think she was talking about a tabby, calico, nor a Persian. I think she was talking about. All right, we're all on the same page. Okay. That's what we got to do. That's what our grandparents did. That's your grandma did that. My grandma didn't do that. I don't think either one of my grandmothers even thought about that. That was one of the options. I guess you're kind of telling on yourself. Your grandmother's a hooker, and so hey, food stamps run out. Don't go get a job. Don't get a husband. No. Be a hooker. This is the next step. This is the next in your algorithm and your logical flow chart. Hooker is next. Hang on. All
right, ladies. Now, food stamps getting ready to get cut off, and I hate to be the one to tell you this. I hate to be the burial of bad news, but I'm gonna need y'all to get out.
Did she say burial of bad news? I hate to be the burial of bad news.
I hate to be the one to tell you this. I hate to be the burial of bad news, but I'm gonna need y'all to get out here and start selling that cat again, okay? Because back in the day, our grandparents was not worried about how they was gonna feed these kids because they wouldn't mind going out here and getting on these blocks. Hell,
your grandmother didn't mind getting out there on them blocks. That's interesting. All right, so far we have, with the food stamp crash out, we're going to create a whole new class of thieves. I've played a bunch of the stealing crash outs, though.
This is going to be a thing. People are going to start, instead of stealing groceries from the stores, they're going to start watching people go to their cars. And they're going to take all of their groceries.
So we're going to steal from the stores. We're going to steal from people in the parking lots. Some other people are going to come to your house.
And with food stamps getting cut off next month, like I don't have a kid that eats like a grown man. I eat like a grown man. We like steak and lobster.
Yeah, you like food.
Yeah, we like food. We like steak and lobster. So I want everybody to be prepared for me and my kid to be at their house for Thanksgiving. Yup, we're straight. Yup, and we're gonna eat your food.
No, you're not.
Period. We're coming to your house and we're gonna eat all your food. Because what? Cutting the snaps off for November? Like, the 3-year-old don't eat like a grown man. So yeah, I just want everybody to be prepared for me and my penguin to.
Nope. So we're going to come to your house. We're going to burgle your house. We're going to create thieves and burglars and lesbians and prostitutes if we go 1 month without food stamps. I think that sounds silly. You know what I think? I think you're all adults that are capable of getting a job and feeding yourself and maybe even feeding your kids too. And if you can't, then you're going to have to rely on private voluntary donations, or this is all going to get real ugly real quick. And it's not going to go the way that you think it's going to go. I see all these people on Ozempic, and yeah, you're skinnier, but look at your face, look at your body, look how droopy you look. You know, I'm glad you've lost 70 pounds, but it's not because you're healthier, it's because you're dying, is what it looks like to me. Dr. Brian Ardis is coming back on the James Show. You can find his show, the Dr. Ardis Show, online. Good stuff. And I know that you're also Ozempic skeptic, so I wanted to bring you on. I thought of you when I saw the new report that the obesity rate in the United States has fallen, and Ozempic's getting a bunch of credit for that. But the question I want to ask you, is it really making us healthier?
Yeah, it's a great question, and thanks for having me back on. And I'd like to say hi to everybody in the audience and hope you're having a great week, great day. And Ozempic is something I've actually been educating audiences around the world from stages at medical conventions and online through my Dr. Ardis Show podcast, health and wellness podcast. One thing to know about Ozempic is a drug made by a company in Denmark. That company is called Novo Nordisk. And the FDA approved this drug for Americans in 2017, when in 2017, 18, 19, and 20, it still was never approved to be given to citizens in Denmark or any country in Europe because it was too deadly and too toxic in human trials. So you might want to ask yourself, why did the FDA approve something that the country of Europe or the
country of Europe,
would not approve? So let's dive into a little bit about what's going on with Ozempic right now. So yes, people are losing weight, not all of them, but a high percentage of people using these drugs, Ozempic and Wegovy, which are sister drugs. It's the same drug, just different branding. Ozempic is actually an injectable prescription. You inject it yourself once a week. And this is a lifelong prescription for those with diabetes, obesity, and now the FDA just last year approved Medicare to cover Wegovy, its sister drug, for heart disease in the elderly on Medicare. So what is Ozempic? So Ozempic is actually, to understand the $2 billion lawsuit that was just filed representing 2,000 clients who took Ozempic prescribed by their medical doctor in America. What happened to these people in the last couple of years taking this drug that was FDA approved to be safe for consumption by Americans? Well, the majority of the people that are suing, the lawyers suing the makers of Ozempic, called Novo Nordisk, they've woken up to having permanent eyesight loss. So they are completely blind. And the condition is called NAION. Its technical name, that's an acronym, is anterior. It's called non-anterior. Anterior means at the front. Ischemic, meaning blood flow blocked. Optic neuropathy. And you wake up one day and you have no vision for the rest of your life. This is a published side effect, even an FDA black box warning about the people who elect to voluntarily inject themselves with Ozempic.
But Dr. Ardis, you're blind, but are you fat?
So if you've looked in the mirror and your body has bothered you, I guess losing your vision would help you think you've lost weight or your image of yourself has improved. But this isn't actually the number one issue I have with Ozempic. So let's just dive into a little bit about what Ozempic is, because this is what I think everyone listening here needs to know. And anyone out there who has themselves received the prescription for Ozempic, you are taking it, or you think anybody in your circle of influence should actually get Ozempic. Ozempic is promoted and marketed to everybody in commercials and all around the world in social media as a GLP-1 drug. And what I want you all to understand is there is no GLP-1 in Ozempic or Wegovy or any of its other similar drugs like Zepbound, Majorna, and others. There is no GLP-1 in there. What is GLP-1? It's a hormone your body makes as a human. And it actually helps break down blood sugar faster and helps you to actually stop making fat cells so fast, and it helps you to lose weight. All right, so what is in Ozempic if it's not GLP-1? And this explains for the audiences listening why people are reporting going blind while taking this drug, why millions of Americans right now, it's reported by CNN, People Magazine, and everywhere else, it is publicized that people around America are waking up, coming off Ozempic. They can't take it anymore because they have cyclic vomiting, meaning everything they swallow, they will throw it up for 2 to 4 years after stopping Ozempic.
Ew.
It's because it paralyzes your stomach, and the food you swallowed or water you swallowed can't go from your stomach into your intestines anymore. The sphincter, the little muscle at the bottom of your stomach that releases the food into your intestines, is so paralyzed it won't open. So you just throw up everything you eat.
Ew.
Now, the reason for gastroparesis, which is the number one published side effect of Ozempic, throwing up for years after stopping Ozempic, now people are becoming blind. The number one FDA warning on their black box, which is the highest risk publication of a drug by the FDA, it lists the number one concern is actually thyroid cancer diagnosis within 12 to 36 months of starting Ozempic. So I would like to ask you, host of this incredible radio show.
Yes, sir.
Do you really think being overweight or diabetic is bad enough, and it's a good idea to add a poison that might cause you to go blind, have thyroid cancer, and vomit for years on end? Is that better than just being overweight and maybe having high blood sugar?
Oh, my God, no. And Dr. Ardis, this has been one of the most frustrating parts about being a person with a public platform that has to talk about this stuff. I have just marveled at how much the human being, the human experience, hates diet and exercise, really hates exercise, because I see people doing all kinds of wild diets. And like when the great example was the Atkins diet, where you could wake up and you could eat bacon and you could drink the grease and then you could have like eggs, but you couldn't have any bread, but you couldn't have anything that had sugar in it. And I just thought, well, if you're cutting out like a whole leg of your nutritional stool, you're not losing weight because you're getting healthier. You're dying. You have a nutritional hole and your body's collapsing on itself. So I just noticed people will do just horrible things to themselves, anything other than exercise.
Amen. It is very true.
And so now we're down to what? What is this, lizard poison?
Oh, I want to say this. They tell you this is a GLP-1 drug, and thank you for bringing that up. Ozempic and Wegovy do not have any GLP-1 in them whatsoever. What you are injecting in that syringe every week into your body is a chemical called Exendin-4, EXENDIN-4. Now, anyone listening to this, if you're at home or in front of a computer on your phone, why don't you just go to Google and type in what is Exendin-4 that is in Wegovy and Ozempic. Exendin-4 is actually a venom protein from a lizard that lives in the southwestern deserts of the United States. And that lizard's venom, the lizard is called the Gila monster lizard, Gila monster lizard. And the Smithsonian Institute reports that the venom of this lizard to a human is more deadly than a western back rattlesnake. You believe that? And all these people in America are electing to inject this venom-laced drug inside of them. And these venoms, this is not new. It might be new to you. The generic name for the drug Ozempic and Wegovy is called semaglutide.
Gross.
Semaglutide is Exendin-4, a venom protein, and venom paralyzes all muscles in the human body. It detaches retinas. It causes blood clotting, which is why these people are losing their vision in their eyes. It causes rapid cancers to form. And I personally own medical textbooks where pharmaceutical companies in 1955 started studying Gila monster venom to produce a diabetes and weight loss drug. I have those venom research textbooks.
Let's go to the phones then. David, Bedford, you're on WBAP. Go.
Yes, sir. Hey, I just wanted to say that to people that are listening, I didn't do Ozempic. I had readings. I'm nearly 70 years old. I coach all the time. I eat late. I eat terrible. My numbers came back at 7.9 recently, and on A1C numbers, and I'm about weight 264. Desired weight 220. Here's the deal. Told the doctor I'm not doing metformin. I'm going to do it natural, which I did. 4.5, almost 5 months later, I've lost 45 pounds. My A1C number is down to 5.6. And I did it all natural, my man. I'm talking about eating natural foods, eating a better breakfast. Don't eat Sonic at midnight and mess like that. Just eat natural foods. You can have some of that stuff, but I cut it back to mostly
Did you
natural.
exercise?
Very moderately.
Okay.
I say busy enough. And I'm down. I can't even wear my size 38 jeans anymore. I'm having to snuggle them in. And like I said, I'm 6 foot and weigh 220 pounds.
All right.
I was weighing 265, and I did it all eating natural foods, buddy.
Well, I appreciate the inspiration. That seems like a much better pathway to take than lizard venom. Dr. Ardis is back with us. Oh, okay. So if someone is on Ozempic or if they've done Ozempic before, what do you recommend they do? I mean, I imagine get off it immediately, but is there a detox process you recommend?
Yes. Number one, everyone on Ozempic, within the sound of my voice listening here, I encourage everyone to stop introducing a deadly toxic venom protein that wasn't even marketed to you anyway. That is deceptive practices, and it's very common in the pharmaceutical industry. For example, everyone out there on high blood pressure drugs called lisinopril, how many of you know that is dried snake venom in a pill for high blood pressure?
Gross.
And that was put on the market in 1981, FDA approved. And how many of you know that it's been known since 1955, any venom from any creature introduced into a human causes rapid forming turbo cancers. So if you want to see the explosion of cancer since the 50s and 60s, you can actually directly correlate it to the introductions of drugs, poisons that mimic venoms or are venoms in a lot of our industry. And in fact, glyphosate, the most common pesticide in all of our foods, which that guest you just had on discussing losing weight by eating natural foods. If you stop eating processed foods, you will stop accumulating in your body a venom, synthetic venom called glyphosate, which is what's Roundup on all of our farms.
Oh. Man, I eat all kinds of processed foods. And I almost wanted to push back against David from Bedford. You can eat Sonic in the middle of the night every once in a while and be fine. And that's one of the reasons why I do exercise and I do lift weights and I do cardio so I can eat like trash.
Yes. So I'm going to introduce a few things that we know all the way back to 1905 have been known to medical science, help to quickly detox snake venom after a snake bite, scorpion into the body, whether you've received a vaccine like Ozempic, an injected venom inside of you, swallowed venom, it doesn't matter. All
right, Dr. Ardis, we've only got 2 minutes left in this segment, and I'm dying to hear this info. So go fast.
So here you go. So since 1905, we know red light saunas, red light, exposing your body to red light for 15 to 20 minutes a day will detox and denature the venom proteins in the human body.
Shut up. How does that work? How does red light do anything?
Yeah, wavelengths of specific red lights destroy venom proteins. It's like exposing light waves of lasers into your eyes and correcting your vision. You can change physiology with light.
See,
lasers are light.
You'll be happy to know Miss Parker actually does the red light sauna thing.
I recommend it. All right. And then these several things are very important to detox venom from the body. You should be consuming at least 1,000 to 5,000 milligrams of vitamin C a day. It is published to remove the venom proteins even from Ozempic. And then we know glutathione, another supplement, N-acetylcysteine will also protect the blood from the blood clotting effects causing the blindness in Ozempic. And then there is a heavy metal detoxer and a venom destroying compound called EDTA. And you can learn more about those substances at the Dr. Ardis Show.
Didn't we have the glutathione come up in the Tylenol discussion?
Yes, because Tylenol destroys your ability to produce glutathione. That is why kids develop autism, neurological diseases as a result of acetaminophen known as Tylenol consumption. Yes, it's all directly tied to the destruction of glutathione, which your liver primarily makes.
All right. Dr. Brian Ardis, great info. I appreciate both segments on The James Show. You want to find more of him, look at the drardisshow.com. He has a lot of great videos on YouTube and whatnot. Thank you again, Dr. Brian.
You're welcome. God bless.
All right, so some of you are on snake venom right now. I imagine of the tens of thousands of people that are listening right now, someone just got their Ozempic shot, and like they're at a red light, and they're just kind of looking at their arm like, what did I just do? Rick and McKinney, you're on WBAP. Go.
Yeah, I've been on Ozempic in the past, but I'm currently on Mounjaro, so I was going to ask the doc if Mounjaro does the exact same thing.
He said yeah at the beginning of the previous segment, so... good luck with the turbo cancer and the blindness, Rick.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Another quick one. Jackie in Frisco, you got 30 seconds. Go.
Yeah, I have type 2 diabetes, and my doctor put me on Ozempic back in February. Since then, I have lost 20 pounds. I really only had 20 pounds to lose. I wasn't like morbidly obese or anything, but I almost immediately started experiencing the vomiting, the nausea, no matter the most bland food that I would eat, the smallest portions that I would eat, everything was horrible. Even now to this day, I wean myself off of Ozempic. I'm not taking it as of about a month and a half ago, and I still can't tolerate anything with any spice at all. I mean, it
wow.
has changed everything.
You heard Dr. Ardis at the very end of that. Red light therapy, high doses of vitamin C, get some glutathione in there, and I'll put up this podcast so you can go back and revisit this info later. Not just you, Jackie and Frisco, everybody listening. Good excuse to come back and check out the James Show podcast later, because you can show your Ozempic friend or your Ozempian spouse or your Ozempian kids even. This is not good. And here's what you do about it. Darren, you're a U.S. Army veteran. You've seen attacks. Is this the level of attacks this week that would break a ceasefire?
Hey, James. Yeah. Great question. And ultimately it comes down to, does one side believe the ceasefire is broken, and have they assumed that it's not going to hold? And do they need to continue doing operations the way they have been? Well, I never believed Hamas would ever actually stop for very long. And, so, this is not a surprise. In fact, in some respects, they're tamer than I thought they'd be, but I knew they wouldn't be able to hold back long as they get involved in not only, targeting Israelis again, but targeting in people inside Gaza with the tribal warfare, essentially trying to reassert their control there. So it comes really down to the IDF and the Israeli people making the decision that do they think Hamas is committing enough acts of violence and fighting back against the IDF enough now to assume the risk of really restarting the war at this point, because Hamas is not fulfilling their part of the deal, which I don't think anybody reasonable ever expected that they would. So I've always thought that the IDF and Israel would essentially have to go through and just clear out all of Gaza. There was no real hope for a long-term enduring ceasefire that would be meaningful for towards the future to rebuilding Gaza. I think they just have to clean them out entirely within Gaza and own it in order for there to be any success there whatsoever.
Well, I got to admit, I'm only optimistic in the fact that I was so pessimistic to begin with. I was really surprised that they handed over all the hostages, all the alive hostages, ahead of the deadline. They didn't try and get some more concessions out of you at the last second or change their mind or invent some sort of delay. So really, I was kind of surprised that they have fulfilled the ceasefire to this extent.
Yeah, I was too, and obviously very happy about getting back live hostages. So I was waiting for the kind of like the other shoe to drop, and for that not to happen either. Worst case scenarios, best case scenarios. And so that really ended up being kind of the best case scenario. But I don't think Hamas was really, I think they were thinking that they could do this and that this would basically just cause Israel to back off entirely and it would be done. But, the request was for all 48 hostages, living and dead. And the challenge there, of course, being that I've never thought that Hamas even knew where all those people were. They confide them to return them to Israel in the first place. So again, that comes back to, Israel has to make the final decision on whether or not they think that is a breach enough to continue the war and continue operations. That's largely up to them. And I suspect they will at some point, and it'll get bigger than what it's at now. For now, I think they're sending a message that simply says, if a couple of your guys go rogue and shoot at IDF anywhere in Gaza, we're going to return in kind, but not escalate until such time as they feel they have to. It'd be nice if they didn't have to, but we're dealing with Hamas here and terrorist flat organizations with limited real true command like we're used to in formal military structures like in the United States. People are just going to do what they're going to do often. And Hamas is, they're on a religious mission in their mind that should never stop because some of them probably still think they're going to win. So we'll see where it goes. I don't think they're going to actually do this without owning Gaza because, frankly, they're already building the structure to govern Gaza with Hamas sympathetic nations, organizations, and people anyways. I just do not see this being totally successful the way we'd like it to be without Israel owning it all and then governing it until such point in the future as another solution is put in place other than anything related to Hamas, PLO. I wouldn't trust Syria or Turkey either.
All right, we're talking with retired Lieutenant Colonel Darren Gobb from the U.S. Army, who now has written a book on the topic of a soldier's perspective on truth, faith, family, and freedom called Veritas Vincent. And I don't see how we ever get peace out of Gaza with anyone Palestinian in charge of Gaza. And it's not that I'm anti-Palestinian. It's that you can tear down Hamas and get rid of it. But if you leave the same people there and they reconstitute the same government, that's the pattern we've noticed our entire lives. Like you mentioned the PLO. There's been the PLO. There's been Fatah. There's been Yasser Arafat. Whoever's in charge there, they're not very friendly to Jews. And I don't want to keep repeating that pattern.
Exactly. There's no need for us to keep using the definitions of insanity in the Middle East. Gaza's a perfect place, by the way, so is West Bank, and then ultimately up in Lebanon as well. So I know for a fact right now that what they're rebuilding around the potential governing structure of Gaza takes us right back to the beginning, and you're just going to end it with Yasser Arafat 2.0. And even if they relabeled an organization, they're going to act ideologically the exact same way, try to circumvent everything that the Israelis would prefer to do within the Gaza Strip. And frankly, those folks, those who are in Gaza who are actually suffering under the thumb of Hamas, basically, they need to remove them anyways, because you can't really rebuild and live in Gaza at the same time successfully. So let's just look at it for what it is and clean it out fully and start over. Most of the people living there are Egyptians and Jordanians in the first place. I think, frankly, there's plenty of space for them to be taken in by the 50-something Islamic countries throughout the Middle East.
Well, that makes sense.
They really want to make a difference in their lives.
That makes sense to me. That's the only thing that makes sense to me. But the Israeli government won't say it. Our government won't say it, but I think they kind of want it. They just don't want to say something that's politically unpopular on the world stage. So I'll keep an eye on this, and we'll have to have you back on the show. You can find him at Darren Gaub, DARINGAUB.com. Thank you very much, Darren.
Hey, thanks, James. Have a good day.
Coming up next on the James Show, what the heck did Jasmine Crockett say this time? You'll hear her response to Trump challenging her to a cognitive test coming up on the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
The James Show Podcast.